What'd you think of the Tyson-Jake Paul fight?
Well, I mean, I think everybody was just so excited to see Tyson, and because of the hangover, you know, just to.
Jake came out to In the Air Tonight because he's sending up Mike Tyson from The Hangover. That's why he chose that song.
Not knowing anything about boxing, not knowing anything about the infrastructure and the politics, I do believe at the core, including from Jake and the promotion and from Netflix, in my eyes, in knowing Mike and everything he's been through, in many ways, this was kind of a tribute, a tip of the cap to Mike. So there's so many ways to look at it, and so many valid ways, things that are beyond my bandwidth. But seeing Mike, and so glad he's healthy, and that was the only thing I was concerned of as a former physician. It was not about outcome. I really was just like getting emotional, like making sure, wanting him. Yeah. And he was. And, it was obviously incredibly risky, but that's what he does for a living. Yeah. He I took maybe one risk in my career, doing something like that. Boxers, athletes, they do this every single hour of every waking moment. So it's a gladiator mentality. And I'm just glad that, I'm just glad he's okay. And I think he has so much goodwill. Yeah. And everyone is just, I would dare say, happy for him right now in this particular moment.
Well, that is that
the narrative? I mean,
the narrative was, is it possible, in what you just said with the tip of the cap to the old school Tyson, is it possible that he could step in the ring, throw one punch,
to me,
and bring us back to that moment?
I think that's part of the tip of the cap.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Part of the tip of the cap is to have every 60 million viewers think the exact same thing, and I was one of them too. I think that is part of what makes sports beautiful. I think that's part of what unifies us all, that we're all collectively thinking that. Yeah. And I think that is, in my mind, that's part of the love. In a weird way, there is. I mean, just to see them hug at the end, I was moved by that. Yeah. Because you just felt like this was, in many ways, just the ultimate honor to like the legacy award. Yeah, sure. Although he says famously, "I'm not into legacy," which is true, and that's inspiring in many ways too. You just always think about your next fight or your next day,
or your next show on Ken's days,
or next show on Ken's day. Yeah, in my own small lane. Yeah.
No, your lane's pretty wide, man. Do you have a good Tyson story from the set when you first strolled in there?
I didn't meet him on the set in Vegas. I later met him, I think it was at the Golden Globes, and it was one of the most amazing things is like me and my wife, who's a doctor, and Mike, and I believe it was his wife at that time, who also was in medicine, I believe a physician.
That's right, yes.
And the four of us were sitting, I just remember the four of us sitting at a table at the Golden Globes, just chatting away about life. Had nothing to do with boxing, nothing to do with showbiz. Our wives were talking about medicine, and it was the most, I've never talked about this publicly, it was the most surreal, sublime conversation ever. So, and then we later, I think a few years later, go to Muhammad Ali's birthday tribute and in Vegas, and to see my wife hug Mike, it is really one of the most
old
friends is one of the most surreal, coolest things. I haven't thought about it until just right now.
Well, I know whenever I'm, when there's dinner with spouses, and then the spouses start separating and talking in pairs, and like your wife is talking to his about medicine. And now, are you spinning your head like, what am I going to say to Mike Tyson now?
I think, to me, he was holding court and everything. He's so funny. Right. It's just the art of conversation. Just listen and respond, It's just like duck and weave, take a jab. I don't know the boxing analogy of conversational flows, but it
you
was
just got to take a punch.
Yeah, take a verbal jab. And it was really just, Mike's just he is obviously so approachable and so easy to talk to. And, you know, at that point, kids are coming up to him because of The Hangover. You know, kids are hugging him.
Sure.
You know, and I'm like, growing up as a kid, the most dangerous man on the planet. And
amazing.
now kids are hugging him.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku Channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.